All right, welcome back to the station, Destination Devy fam. Welcome back to the channel, and I am excited to talk to you today because this is my never way too early look at the 2021 rookie class and what we are going to do today together. This is going to be a fun one, a 2-round 2021 rookie mock draft. Format settings, super flex, tight end premium. So we're getting a little bit of everything in this rookie mock draft. And what I tell people is, a lot of people are like, oh, we haven't even started the 2020 season. It's never, ever too early to start looking ahead at the next year's class, and sometimes even a class after that. Dynasty is a game of chess, not checkers. And those of you, if you're watching this and you don't participate in dynasty leagues and you just want to know what rookies are going to be available next year for your seasonal leagues, there are going to be some damn good ones out of this 2021 class. So when I tell people dynasty is a game of chess, not checkers, hey, this is valuable information. And again, never, ever too early to start looking ahead at the next group of incoming rookies. If you have yet to subscribe to the channel, make sure you do so. Also, check me out, patreon.com/rgas for exclusive access to me and bonus content. But you guys know what's next. Drop the intro.
You got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me. Hurt my feelings.
All right, so we've got the 101 in this Superflex tight end premium rookie mock draft, and I know a lot of the conversation this past 2020 rookie draft was centered around, do you actually take a quarterback, or would you actually consider passing on quarterback with the 101 in a Superflex draft? And in 2020, I said, yeah, that would probably be the route that I would take. I would take Jonathan Taylor and Clyde Edwards-Helaire before I take Joe Burrow, unless I was just in dire need of a quarterback. In 2021, I think the answer is very clear. We don't have to overthink it. The 101 selection in Superflex formats is none other than Sunshine himself, Trevor Lawrence. At 6'6", 220 pounds, I mean, his size, the arm talent, the accuracy, his mobility, there's nothing not to like about his game. If anything, if I was being nitpicky, he tries to squeeze the ball into some tight spaces sometimes. But you know what? When you've got the arm talent that Trevor Lawrence does, how could you possibly find that as a negative? The NFL coaches will teach him to just kind of harness that gunslinger mentality. But Trevor Lawrence is probably the best looking quarterback prospect we've seen in a very, very long time. When people look at him, they think that, I don't know if this idea that because he's this white pocket passer that he's not mobile, because that's bull. Trevor Lawrence, I called him all through the 2019 season, I called him Trevor Vick, because that dude can absolutely fly in the open field, and he's a very, very good runner with the ball in his hands. When you look at what Trevor Lawrence has done over his career at Clemson, it's ridiculous. It's mind-blowing to know that a freshman who didn't even start his first week one as a freshman with Kelly Bryant at Clemson, but through his career, he's got a 65% completion percentage, over 6,900 passing yards, 66 TDs, only 12 interceptions, and then again, his ability on the ground. He's got over 700 rushing yards in his career, 10 TDs, and I joked in 2019, when he's in the open field, I call him Trevor Vick for a reason, because the dude can absolutely move. He's going to test like a phenomenal athlete. He's going to do everything behind the scenes. He should be the number one pick in the NFL draft, and let's not overthink it. In Superflex formats, Trevor Lawrence is the 101. Now, when we move to 102, one of the things that we saw in 2020 was running backs going off of the board early and often. Sometimes, 3 straight picks or 5 straight picks if we're talking about a single quarterback league. But in the Superflex format, I still think that running back is going to go high. And while this player is not my number 1 rated running back in the class, it's hard to deny what Travis Etienne has done throughout his career at Clemson. And just think about this for a second. As a true freshman, Travis Etienne over 700 rushing yards, and then his sophomore season over 1,650 rushing yards. Last year as a junior, everybody thought he was going to declare another 1,600 yards while adding 37 receptions for 432 yards. when the narrative coming into 2019 was he was afraid to catch the ball. Those were words out of his own mouth, but he absolutely showed an ability to do that. He's still a talented runner on the ground, some of the best contact balance in the class, and then his 0 to 60, I don't say this lightly, it's not hyperbole. Outside of Chris Johnson, I don't think I've ever seen a running back with the type of acceleration that Travis Etienne has. From 0 to 60, it's unlike anybody else. Now, the size at 5'10", they got him listed at, I've seen 210, 200, 190. I don't know how big Etienne is, and I don't know if you really want to use him as a bell cow in the traditional sense of the word running back, giving him 20, 25 touches, 25 carries a game. I think he's best used sort of in that, like Alvin Kamara is used, where you got that hammer to take some of the load off of the running back, but then you allow him to come in and do what he does well, which is create big plays, be explosive, and make plays in the open field. So Travis Etienne, he is the 102 in this rookie mock draft. Now, at the 103 spot, we will see a wide receiver come off the board. And again, while he's not my number one rated wide receiver in this class, and yes, I know I've got a couple of videos, rankings have changed for me. I've solidified my preseason rankings going into 2020, and Ja'Marr Chase is no longer the number one wide receiver. Stop. Don't lose your minds. He's still comfortably in the tier 1. I've got 3 players in tier 1 at the wide receiver position. And more important than the ranking right now is where these players are tiered. Ja'Marr Chase is a tier 1 wide receiver prospect. And I do believe that if the draft was held right now, rookie drafts, 2021 rookie drafts, he would be the first wide receiver taken in 2021 for fantasy gamers. I mean, I don't really need to go through his accolades again. Biletnikoff Award winner as the nation's top receiver, SEC record holder for touchdowns in a season, SEC record holder for receiving yards in a season, over 1,700 receiving yards, 20 TDs. We know he's got the size, he's got the athleticism, he has the toughness. He's a tackle-breaking machine at the wide receiver position. He's physical, he's good. He just doesn't have Joe Burrow and Justin Jefferson and Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Thad Moss on the team with him in 2020, so we should see some regression. The greatest offensive display of scoring that the history of college football has ever seen, we're probably not going to see that again in 2020. So while his production may dip, we've probably seen everything that we needed to see. The NFL saw everything that they needed to see out of Ja'Marr Chase in 2019. He is the 103 in this rookie mock. At 104, we're going to go back to the quarterback, and we're going to get a Konami code type quarterback that's going to provide you that rushing floor as well as the passing upside. And we're going to go to Ohio State and take Justin Fields. Justin Fields, fantastic quarterback. There are some people who have Fields as QB1 in the 2021 class. I got him second behind Trevor Lawrence. I flip-flopped him throughout the season, but Trevor Lawrence is Trevor Lawrence, and Justin Fields is a very talented quarterback. And when you've got these QBs that are mobile, that give you that rushing floor, that you can pencil men for 400 to 500 yards every single year on the ground, that's Justin Fields. That is Justin Fields. And in 2019, over 3,000 passing yards, 41 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions, 2 of those coming in the postseason. Add what he brings to the table on the ground, Justin Fields is going to be a rock-solid pick in the NFL draft, and he's going to be a top 5 pick in Superflex formats, a consensus top 5 pick in Superflex formats across the board. Justin Fields at the 104. At 105, we're going to stay at the quarterback position, but we are going to go to the FCS, the football championship subdivision, so not the big schools. We're going to North Dakota State to take Trey Lance. Hey, Trey Lance is a hot name right now, and Trey Lance, very well so. I mean, very deservingly so. When you look at what he did in 2019, over 2,700 passing yards, 28 TDs, no interceptions. That's while adding 1,100 yards on the ground and another 14 TDs. Trevor Lawrence has a cannon of an arm. Justin Fields has a cannon of an arm. The ball does not jump off of their hands the way it jumps off of Trey Lance's hands. When he throws, it's velocity, it is accuracy, it is timing. And yes, I know he's playing against inferior competition compared to the Big Ten and the ACC, but the skill set and the talent is there. And he's got the size at 6'3", over 220 pounds. He has the mobility. He gives you that rushing. Again, the Konami code, all three of these quarterbacks actually provide a very safe rushing floor. Trey Lance looks a little more fluid in the open field than a Justin Fields and a Trevor Lawrence. Trey Lance is going to be a first-round pick in the NFL draft. If he comes out, he is going to be a first-round pick. And it wouldn't shock me to see in some rookie drafts people taking Trey Lance over Justin Fields. I think that's a mistake. I've got him slotted as the number 3 quarterback, and I'd be more than ecstatic taking him at the 105 spot in 2021. At the 106, my RB2 comes off the board, and that is Chuba Hubbard, the redshirt junior out of Oklahoma State. Man, Chuba Hubbard, what he did in 2019, if Oklahoma State wasn't so shitty of a team, he would have legitimately had a shot at the Heisman Trophy. It was absolutely, he averaged 161 yards per game. He had 1,000 rushing yards in 6 games in 2019. 6 games, he already accumulated 1,000 yards. As great as Jonathan Taylor and Clyde Edwards-Helaire were, Chuba Hubbard was on another level, and Mike Gundy fed him like he was on another level. He won the Doak Walker Award. He was an All-American. He's a 6'1", 210-pound upright runner, but possesses elite home run ability. Out of high school, he had a 10 500-meter dash. He was a national champion up in Canada. So Chuba he's a dynamic running back. He's explosive in the open field, but he's more than a one-trick pony. I know a lot of people like to just think that he's an inline, straight-line runner with a lot of speed, but he does have some fluidity to his game. He's very patient, and he can catch the ball out of the backfield. I believe that after Travis Etienne is off of the board, fantasy gamers are going to select Chuba Hubbard as their second running back, and sometimes you may see those two flip-flopped, with Hubbard being the first running back taken and then Travis Etienne. Right now where we stand, got Chuba Hubbard at the 106 spot. We're going to stay at the running back position at 107 and select Najee Harris, the senior running back out of Alabama. A lot of people thought he was going to declare for the draft, ends up coming back for a senior season, and that's after a phenomenal junior campaign where a lot of people were a little low on Najee to enter the season, and all he did was absolutely literally carry that team on his back. Tua got hurt. We all know the story, what happened with him. And Najee Harris over 1,200 rushing yards. But what was even more impressive than the rushing yards was 27 receptions, 304 yards, and 7 touchdowns through the air. And he did this while only carrying the ball 209 times. So when we look at Chuba Hubbard, who carried it like 1,000 times last year, Najee barely had 200 carries, and he didn't have 200 carries the year before. So although he's a senior, and I know a lot of people talk about the age and how old he is, I'm not concerned with that. By the time his first contract is up, I don't believe he'll be a first-round pick, so he'll be on a 4-year deal. He's still under 28 years old. All I care about is 1 year in one contract in Dynasty for my running backs. Anything on top of that is gravy. That is icing on top of the cherry on top of the cake. Not concerned about 4 to 5 years of production from Najee Harris. Comfortably first-round pick, last of the Tier 1 running backs in the 2021 class. So I'd be more than ecstatic to get him right here at the 107. At 108, and this pains me because he is my number 1 ranked wide receiver in the 2021 class, and I'm talking about Rondale Moore, the wide receiver out of Purdue. I know the knock on Rondale Moore is his size, but I'm not concerned about that. We saw Marquise Hollywood Brown come off the board as the first overall wide receiver 2 years ago. We're seeing these smaller type wide receivers who possess this elite skill set be drafted earlier. The NFL is not concerned about that. Therefore, I'm not worried about Rondale Moore being 5'8", 5'9". He reminds me of a more explosive version of Steve Smith, and I think a lot of the draft pundits who aren't mocking Rondale Moore in the first round are ridiculous, but a lot of that is out of sight, out of mind. He didn't play a lot last year. He got hurt, and by all accounts, he could have come back and played, but Purdue was trash. So what was I know it sounds like a selfish teammate, but it's a business decision. What was the point of coming back when that team wasn't going to do anything? Rondale Moore won the Paul Hornung Award as the nation's most versatile player as a freshman, over 110 receptions in the Big Ten, 1,200 receiving yards, another 660 kick return yards. punt return yards, running the ball. The most dynamic player outside of Jaylen Waddle in college football is Rondale Moore. And if I were on the clock and Rondale Moore was sitting there at the 108, I'm doing a fucking backflip, and I don't even know how to flip. I didn't take gymnastics, no clue, but I would figure it out. Rondale Moore is an elite talent, my wide receiver one, but because he's not being mocked and because there's a lot of people in the industry or in the community who have these concerns about his size, for the purposes of this exercise, Rondale Moore is the 8th pick in the first round. Now, at number 9, another dynamic playmaker from Alabama, Jaylen Waddle. And as much as people loved Henry Ruggs last year or were intrigued by his speed and his physical tools, this kid has been more productive than Henry Ruggs through 2 years of his career, and he's probably just as fast, if not just a tick slower than Henry Ruggs. But Jaylen Waddle is dynamic, and he shows that on the special teams. He shows that every time he gets the ball in his hands. Outstanding juice. And when you look at him, his freshman season, he produced over 800 receiving yards, and that's with Devonta Smith and Jerry Jeudy there. Last season, dipping receptions, 33, 560 yards. We can attribute a little bit of that to the fact that Tua didn't play much. So you had a young quarterback in Mac Jones trying to figure it out. But go turn on the tape versus Auburn, where Jaylen Waddle, kick return touchdown, 3 receiving touchdowns, absolutely destroyed Auburn, and you can see the talent that he possesses. Outside of Moore, he's one of my favorite players to watch in college football because anytime he gets the ball, he is an explosive play waiting to happen. So right here, you're talking about the 109 spot to pick up Jaylen Waddle. Hey, those back half of the first round picks in 2021 are going to be extremely valuable. Make sure you load up on them. All right, this seems like it should be a crime to be at the 110 and Rashod Bateman still be on the board. Listen, he's my second-ranked wide receiver in the class. I would take him much higher than this. He's 6'2", 210 pounds, and he literally has no weaknesses to his game. I don't know. Rondale Moore, you can say that he's got size, so that's a limitation or a weakness. Jamar Chase, you can say, well, I want to see him do it again without Joe Burrow and Joe Brady and Edwards-Helaire. But with Rashod Bateman, there are literally 0 weaknesses to his game. He very well may be the best overall wide receiver in the 2021 class. With that size, he's an alpha. With the production, he's an alpha. You talk about a freshman season, over 700 receiving yards. Following that up, he had 51 receptions, 704 receiving yards as a freshman. He had 9 more catches in 2019, but he had 1,219 receiving yards and 11 TDs, and that's while sharing the field with Tyler Johnson, who a lot of people loved prior to his pre-draft stuff kind of going down the tank. Bateman is, you watch him, and he's got the best hands. He's a natural hands catcher. His route running ability is fantastic. His separation, what he can do after the catch, his physical, there are no weaknesses to his game. 0 weaknesses. To get him at the 110 spot, and then you ask, well, Ray, why didn't you take him higher in this mock? If we were having this draft today, the names of a Jaylen Waddle on that speed, the name of a Rondale Moore or Jamar Chase, or why they would probably be slotted ahead of Rashod Bateman, who a lot of people don't watch Minnesota play. So if you haven't seen the Minnesota Gophers play, you may not know the name Rashod Bateman just yet, even though he's been productive the past 2 seasons. But mark my word, before the end of the 2020 college football season, everybody will know the name Rashod Bateman. And if you got him anywhere remotely near this range in a rookie draft next year, like I just said, I'd do backflips for Moore or Waddle. I would do them for Rashod Bateman. Fantastic value. 110 Rashod Bateman. All right, at 111, we are going to dive into the tight end realm, and my number 1 ranked tight end, and consensus, right? A lot of people say that this is their number 1 tight end. 6'6", 245-pound Kyle Pitts out of the University of Florida. He's an oversized wide receiver playing tight end. That's what Kyle Pitts is. He's an oversized wide receiver lined up at tight end. Turn on the LSU game. They had to take Derek Stingley Jr., who's one of the best defenders in the nation. They took him off of Van Jefferson. They took him off of all the other wide receivers and said, you need to man up with Kyle Pitts because he's killing us. Grant Delpit could do nothing with him. He was too big for Derek Stingley Jr. He, to me, reminds me of a more athletic version of Jimmy Graham. And I believe that the moment we hear Kyle Pitts' name called at the NFL draft next year, he is locked and loaded, a top 10 dynasty tight end. Book it, period. He's that good. He's that dynamic. He's that much of a playmaker. He is the next great tight end in the NFL. Kyle Pitts here in a tight end premium mock draft, locked and loaded, taking him. He's big. He's big. He's versatile. He's got the route running ability. He's an oversized wide receiver playing tight end. And in fantasy, I want oversized wide receivers playing tight end. Kyle Pitts, 111. Now let's round out the first round at 112 and select Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver out of USC. You know, a quiet sophomore campaign. A lot of hype surrounding Amon-Ra last year. But, you know, USC had a little bit of transition at quarterback. JT Daniels went down and they tried Matt Fink, and finally they landed on future star Keaton Slovis, and then things started to click. Brown did have over 1,000 receiving yards last year on 77 receptions, 6 TDs. So a very an improvement from his freshman season, but there's still so much room to grow. And with Keaton Slovis coming back for his second year as the unquestioned starter, JT Daniels transferred out to Georgia with Drake London. They recruited some kids. They still have they still have Tyler Vaughns, Brew McCoy coming on. We heard some news that Kyle Ford, another promising 5-star wide receiver, tore his ACL, so that's very unfortunate for him, but more opportunity for this young core to grow together. Amon-Ra St. Brown is the alpha of that team. I expect him to have another 1,000-yard season with Slovis throwing him the ball. And the community loves St. Brown. You know, we missed on Equinemius St. Brown, that's his older brother. I think Amon-Ra is the better of all the St. Browns. There's another one at Stanford, or just graduated Stanford, but there was a special. Their family is all athletic, so it's 3 St. Brown brothers. And the interviewer in this HBO special asked them, who's the best one of you 3? And mind you, Equinemius St. Brown was in the NFL. He's on the Packers. And they all said that little brother Amon-Ra was better than all of them. Even Pops was like, yeah, he's the best. So Amon-Ra St. Brown, little tidbit there, but St. Brown rounds out the first round. So quick recap, pick 1 in this super flex tight end premium mock draft. Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne at the 102, Jamar Chase at the 103, Justin Fields followed by Trey Lance, double tap quarterback, Chuba, Hubbard, Najee Harris, Rondale Moore, Jaylen, Waddle, Rashod, Bateman, Kyle Pitts, and Amon-Ra St. Brown round out round 1. And we will kick off round 2 with Max Borghi at the 201. And listen, a couple of shows ago, I think I had Max Borghi as my 4th rated running back in the 2021 class. I got to be honest with you. I'm not feeling Max. I'm not feeling him. A lot of those receptions that we saw from him were manufactured sort of extensions of the run game that are counted as receptions. He was not lined up out wide running option routes out of the backfield. He's not used anywhere near how Christian McCaffrey is used out of the backfield with those receptions. Now, granted, with Mike Leach gone, maybe we'll see a little more rushing production out of him as a true running back. If you asked me right now, I would say you're looking at a day 3 pick. You're looking at a 4th round pick in the NFL draft at best. I'm just not seeing it with him. I would prefer quite a few running backs to Max Borghi, but the community still loves him. And if we were having this draft today, I believe he would still be selected quite high. So right here, kicking off the 2nd round, Max Borghi, 86 receptions last year, 53 as a freshman, 800 rushing yards last year. We'll see if he can improve on that. 201, kick it off with Max Borghi. At 202, we're going to go back into the tight end pool and take Brevin Jordan, the tight end out of Miami, athletic tight end, 6'3", 230 pounds, out of my hometown of Las Vegas, Nevada. Was the top-rated tight end prospect in the 2018 class when he came out. Little, unproductive at Miami, not as productive as we would want to see out of a tight end prospect. He's missed a couple of games due to injury, back-to-back 30 reception seasons, 495 yards last year and 2 touchdowns. Again, dealt with some injuries, and we know the quarterback situation at Miami was not good. They shuffled through Tate Martell and Jaron Williams and N'Kosi Perry. It just wasn't very good. So hopefully with Derek King coming to Miami from Houston, that can help Brevin Jordan out this year. But he's an athletic tight end. He's my tight end 3 in the 2021 class, but a lot of people have him 1 or 2. So Brevin Jordan here at the 202 spot to kick off the second round, right here at the top of the second in the tight end premium format. Man, that's a smash spot to get one of these ultra athletic tight ends. I do think this is the year we see 2, maybe 3 tight ends in the first round. And if we see 3 tight ends in the first round, Brevin Jordan will be one of those names that's called in the first round of the NFL draft. So right here at 202 spot, that's a good pick for Brevin Jordan. We're going to follow that up with another tight end. And this tight end is my tight end 2 in the class. I think he's the best overall tight end. And I'm talking about Penn State's big man, Pat Freiermuth at 6'5", 260 pounds. Ultra athletic, can do it inline, can split out wide. He's versatile. He's a little older of a prospect. I actually thought he was going to declare in 2020. He had gotten some waiver where he's actually a redshirt sophomore, so he was 2020 eligible, but he decided to come back. Penn State, hey, Mike Gesicki, we know they've got a really good weight, strength, and conditioning program. These kids are athletic coming out of Penn State, and Pat Freiermuth, he's just fantastic. I mean, tight ends in college aren't utilized near as well as they are at the next level at the NFL. But when you're talking about a tight end that caught over 500 yards as a sophomore, 368 yards as a freshman, 8 TDs his freshman season, and 7 TDs last year, you're talking about a player who's utilized well, that can score in the red zone, and that's what we're looking at with our tight end prospects. I said Kyle Pitts is a top 10 tight end the day he hears his name called. Pat Freiermuth is close to top 12. He's going to be a top 15 tight end prospect for me. A tight end overall player in Dynasty when he hears his name called. That's how good Baby Gronk is. Freiermuth is an absolute monster. So tight end premium formats to get him here at the 203, I would be very, very happy. All right, with the 4th pick in the second round, we are going to go back to the University of Alabama and take Devonta Smith. Now, he, for me, is probably one of the most polarizing players in this early process of 2021. And not because of the production on the field. And I challenge you to go back to watch Alabama last year. I don't believe there's a way that you can walk away not saying that Devonta Smith was the best wide receiver on that team last year. I'm not saying the most talented. I'm not saying the most pro potential, but just on the field production, Devonta Smith was the best wide receiver on Alabama last year. Better than Jerry Jeudy, better than Henry Ruggs, and better than Jaylen Waddle. And if that's the case, why do I have him so low? Why does the community have Devonta Smith so low? And that's because of his size. He's 6'1", got him listed at 175. So BMI enthusiasts don't like him. And if you look at the data, it's going to make him an outlier if he actually hits. But he's good. He was a 5-star prospect coming out of high school. He was ranked higher than Henry Ruggs and Jalen Reagor and Tylan Wallace and CeeDee Lamb for a reason, because he's a fantastic wide receiver. He just happens to be a little slight. So if he can put on some weight and hit 180, 185 without losing that verified 4.49 speed, you could be looking at something special. Devonta Smith is an elite separator. He's got outstanding hands. And for as small as he is, or as lean as his frame is, he doesn't miss time. He doesn't get hurt. He'll go over the middle. He's not afraid of contact. He's just a really, really good wide receiver. So right here at the 204 spot, we're going to lock and load in Devonta Smith. All right, at 205, let's go to Stillwater, Oklahoma, and select Tylan Wallace. Oklahoma State has a history of producing, draftable wide receivers, from Rashawn Woods, Adarius Bowman, Justin Blackman, Des Bryant. I mean, the names go on and on and on about these wide receivers that have come out of Oklahoma State. Tylan Wallace might be the best one since Des Bryant. At 6', 185, he's not the biggest receiver, but he's put together very, very well. And in 2018, he was a Blitnikoff Award finalist with Jerry Jeudy as the nation's top receiver after almost hit 1,500 receiving yards. He was on an absolute Big 12 assault before he got hurt and tore his ACL with 5 games left in the season. So when you're talking about what his potential is this coming season, I don't even know if he's going to start off the season on the field, suffering his ACL tear so late in the college football season. But if he can come back and he is healthy, I think he will test fine. And you're looking at a day 2 pick and a future number 2, number 3 wide receiver at the next level. And that's why he's slotted here at the 205 spot. So Tylan Wallace, 205. Let's push the button on him. At 206, we're going to take another player who's gaining a lot of momentum and steam and hype, and that's Penn State running back Journey Brown. Now, Journey Brown was not a highly rated recruit coming out of high school. I don't even think he was a top 1,000 recruit. He was like the 50th best running back in the class. Now, what he did do, he set the Pennsylvania state record for the 100-meter dash, and as fast as we talk about Chuba Hubbard, Chuba Hubbard ran a 10.5, Journey Brown ran a 10.4, so even faster straight line than Chuba Hubbard. In Penn State, Miles Sanders, Saquon Barkley, hey, they've got some running back. They've got some momentum at the running back position. And Journey Brown really made a staple late in the season, especially in the final bowl game versus Memphis, where he just, went complete beast mode on one of the runs. Just type in Journey Brown, the run, and you'll see that. But he did go for over 1,800 yards last year, 15 receptions. So we definitely want to see him catch more passes out of the backfield. But we know that he can run the ball. And if he can fend off Noah Cain again and be the lead back for Penn State, hey, we can see his stock skyrocket. And as a running back, we can actually see him elevate his draft stock in ADP. So right here, for the purpose of this exercise, Journey Brown slotted in as the 206 spot. All right, let's go down to Auburn for the 207 and select Seth Williams, the big 6'3", 225-pound wide receiver. Look, Bo Nix wasn't very good last year, so Seth Williams' stats, while they're not what we would like for a future number one wide receiver stats to look like, he was productive. He doubled his reception total from his freshman season from 26 to 59. He did miss a game or two last year with an injury, but he was still able to produce over 800 receiving yards, 8 TDs. He's big, he's fast, he's athletic, he's strong. Seth Williams looks like, when you watch him on tape, he looks like an NFL wide receiver. He's massive. He's big, he's put together, athletic as hell. And hopefully with Bo Nix taking a step forward in his quarterback development, that will only help the alpha in that offense, which is Seth Williams. So Seth Williams, to get him here at the 207, good spot. He's a player that I think probably will end up being drafted a lot higher than this in rookie drafts. All right, at 208, Superflex, let's go back to the quarterback position, and we're going to select Jamie Newman, the Wake Forest transfer who is now at Georgia. Look, Jamie Newman has all the physical tools to be a starting quarterback at the next level. 6'4", 230 pounds. We definitely want to see him pick that completion percentage up. He did get it over 60% last year, 2,800 yards, 26 TDs, 11 interceptions. The decision-making is where I just question his upside, right? 11 interceptions, 26 TDs, not bad, but, we want to see him bring that down. Better decision-making. Make some completions, and he's going to have a really good chance to do that. Georgia produced, they're producing NFL quarterbacks. Jacob Eason was drafted last year, as well as Jake Fromm. And I know Jacob Eason transferred, but he was a Georgia product. Justin Fields is going to be a first-round pick. He was at Georgia. I think Jamie Newman has more physical tools and traits than Jake Fromm. I don't know if his decision-making is as good. Jake Fromm was checked down Charlie, but he took care of the ball. Jamie Newman is athletic, so that's going to be a dimension that Georgia hasn't had since Justin Fields, and that is while using him in a complementary role. So he's going to have George Pickens to throw the ball to. He's going to have running backs to take some pressure off of him. If Jamie Newman's going to make it happen, it's going to be this year with Georgia, and I can very well see with a good season him sneaking into the back half of the first round. That fifth-year option on quarterbacks is ever so crucial. So Jamie Newman here at the 208 spot. Maybe some potential to move him up. I don't know if I would take him over any of these players personally, even in a super flex format. I think right here is good value for Jamie Newman. At 209, now, this player would 100% be in the first round for me. I'm letting you know he's a top 5 wide receiver for me, but for whatever reason, that Florida State bias, they just don't like him. They just don't like the Florida State players because the offense stunk, but Tamarion Terry was a damn beast, and he's an athletic freak at 6'4", 210 pounds. He's going to run sub 4.4 or damn near close to it. He's that fast. Tamarion Terry can absolutely fly, but he's more than a one-trick pony. He's not just running 9 routes. He's running shallow crossers. He's running out routes. He's not afraid to go over the middle. Tamarion Terry is fantastic, and for him to produce over 1,100 yards last year with that anemic offense on only 60 grabs, as a true freshman, he averaged over 21 yards of reception. Last year, almost 20 yards of reception. He's good, and he's going to pick up steam this year. And with offensive changes across the board, the sky and the arrow have to only be pointed up for Tamarion Terry. So Get the Florida State negativity out of your mind. Tamarion Terry's a beast. He's a dog. Right here at the 209 spot, we're taking him. But for me, he would be much, much higher. All right, we're coming to a close of this mock draft, and these players here. There's one guy that I really like a lot. It's not this player, but everybody likes this player. Zamir White at 210, running back out of Georgia. I mean, last year was okay. It was his first live action since 2017. He tore his ACL in 2018. He tore his ACL in high school. So you're talking about another Georgia running back with known knee issues, two ACL tears, who looked okay last year, but they were heavily recruiting some of these five-star running backs, as Georgia always does, because they never feed one running back the ball. That's not how they do it. They still have James Cook there. Kendall Milton is there now. Kenny McIntosh. So I don't know, man. I don't know how I feel about Zamir White long term. 78 carries last year, 408 yards, 2 receptions. We'll see. We'll see. He's got the size, right? He's got the physical makeup to be a good running back, but I don't know. I'm just not seeing it. But the community still loves Zamir Zeus White. So right here at 210, we got to take him for this draft. At 211, this is a player that I like more than Zamir White. And I think Keontae Ingram, that's the selection. 211, Keontae Ingram, running back out of Texas. 6 foot, 235 pounds. It's a big boy. He's a big boy, but he's got light feet and he's got outstanding hands. Outside of, Max Borghi, he may be the most natural pass catcher of all of these running backs in the 2021 class. Back-to-back seasons with over 700 yards, back-to-back seasons with over 25 receptions. The thing with Keontae Ingram is he lets Roshan Johnson, who was a converted quarterback, outplay him at times. And I'm not making excuses for players, but it seemed like when he dropped that pass versus LSU wide open, might I add, to take the lead, dropped that pass in the end zone, his season just went downhill. Now, I know he was dealing with like an MCL injury in preseason, and then point is, they brought in Bijan Robinson, who may be the best freshman running back in college football. He's going to play. It's going to be Ingram and Robinson as 1A, 1B. So I'm hoping that Bijan Robinson lights a fire under Keontae Ingram's ass, because he's got all the talent in the world to be a TDT, a 3-down threat at the next level. He's got the size, he's got the receiving ability, he's got the feet, he's explosive. Even though he's not, Chuba, Hubbard, Travis Etienne straight line, he can rip off long runs. So Keontae Ingram is somebody I will be keeping my eye on closely. But I'll say this, I take him over Max Borghi, and he went at the top of the second. So Keontae Ingram here at 211. Now, rounding out this second round, we're going to select Kylan Hill at the 212, the running back out of Mississippi State, one of the top returning rushers in the SEC. Now he has the benefit of Mike Leach in that air raid attack. We know Kylan Hill can run the ball, over 1,200 rushing yards on the ground last year. He only caught 18 passes last year, caught 22 the year before that. We can definitely expect those numbers to go way up with Mike Leach there, which could help Kylan Hill in his draft stock. We know he can run the ball on the ground. If he can show some more versatility in the receiving game, that can really, really help. I'm not the biggest Kylan Hill fan. Just seems like an early grinder, just a between the tackles runner. I don't know. He's okay. The 2020 running back class as a whole, I hope you got your back in 2020, because 2021, there's a lot of players, and I didn't even name Trey Sermon or Kenneth Gainwell or CJ Verdell, who have all moved down my board a tad bit. But because this is community, this is what the people are telling me. These are the players who are going to be taken in the first 2 rounds. I don't know if I'd have Kylan Hill over a CJ Verdell. I don't know if I'd have him over a Kenneth Gainwell. And there are some other players that we didn't even get to that I'd probably take before Kylan Hill. But he's a Debbie darling. He's a favorite of the community. And he plays in the SEC, so he's going to get the benefit of the doubt. So let's run through the second round real quick to recap. At the 201, we kicked it off with Max Borghi, followed by Brevin Jordan, Pat Freiermuth, Devonta Smith, Tylan Wallace, Journey Brown, Seth Williams, Jamie Newman, Tamarion Terry, Zamir White, Keontae Ingram, and Kylan Hill. There it is. 2-round. Never way too early. 2021 rookie mock draft. We made it. All I'll say is the 2021 class is shaping up very well. I hope you got your running backs in 2020, and if not, I hope you land one of the big three. You got Journey Brown, CJ Verdell, and some others who may elevate themselves to be, you want to see that day 2 draft capital for a running back. I don't know which one of these guys are really going to get it outside of the top 3, but the quarterbacks look fantastic. The wide receivers, oh my gosh, and the tight ends, finally, thank goodness we get some tight end and some young, youthful tight ends coming into the NFL, because Lord knows we need it. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you've yet to subscribe to the channel, please do so. And if you want more exclusive content, more access to me, come join the squad. Patreon.com/allgas. Interact with me, the best Devy community in fantasy football, over there on the All Gas Patreon. Check us out. It's fun. I appreciate y'all rocking with me, but until next time, deuces.